Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding wasn't exactly what the world thought it was. Just after the lavish Madison Square Garden ceremony, reports claimed the couple had already secretly tied the knot days earlier. So why stage a second wedding, and what was really going on? Let's start with what the world actually saw, because it's worth setting the scene before we get to what the world didn't see. Streets around Madison Square Garden shut down for 4 days. Permits had been filed to close the streets around Madison Square Garden beginning July 2 until midday on July 4. Trucks rolled in for a week straight. Starting Monday, June 29, trucks were seen unloading everything from massive covered objects to rolled carpets and food. MSG was completely blocked off, and as the perimeter expanded throughout the week, several midtown blocks were closed to both vehicles and pedestrians to ensure total privacy for the incoming guests. Fans camped out anyway. Swifties lined West 31st Street for hours in the heat, and every time a black SUV with tinted windows rolled toward the arena, the crowd erupted. Crowds gathered near Madison Square Garden appeared eager for even fleeting glimpses of the celebrity guests attending Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding early Saturday morning. Dozens standing behind police barricades on both sides of West 31st Street in Manhattan erupted in cheers whenever vehicles believed to be transporting departing guests left MSG. Then came the sign. As night fell over the arena, the Jumbotron outside flashed something the crowd had been waiting all week to see. As the night went on, tired fans suddenly saw pink lights flash. Justin Tay married. Signs surrounding Madison Square Garden read. Rain started right after, and for a second, the whole block just went quiet, almost too perfectly. A news release confirming the nuptials was sent out as rain started pouring, and a sense of calm enveloped the area. Inside, it was reportedly a 2-day production. Thursday night was the smaller gathering, around 100 people, and Friday was the main event. On Thursday evening, Swift and Kelce held a smaller gathering at the arena for around 100 people. Sources familiar with the plans told ABC News. Both nights had one rule that nobody was allowed to break. For both events, a strict no-phone policy was in place for everyone inside the venue, including guests, vendors, and security personnel, according to sources. Guests walked into what NBC News described as a walk down memory lane before they even reached the ceremony. Guests first entered the venue and walked through a tunnel that featured photos of Swift and Kelce throughout the years, from childhood through their relationship together. Then, guests stepped into what was the couple's secret garden. Adam Aron, the AMC CEO who was in the room, posted about it before deleting the post, describing large photos of the couple at every age scattered around the space, part of what he called a secret garden. Now here's where the 3 reactions start stacking up. Erin Andrews, the sports broadcaster who's covered Kelce for years, posted right after leaving, calling the night pure magic and adding that she loved the couple. "It was magic. We love you guys," Erin Andrews, who attended the wedding, wrote on her Instagram page. George Kittle and his wife Claire had been asked days earlier by Entertainment Tonight whether the wedding was actually happening at the arena, and their answer said everything about how locked down this thing was. Claire said flatly she didn't know, and George added that he'd asked Travis directly the night before and just gotten laughed at. George and Claire Kittle were asked by Entertainment Tonight whether the occasion was actually scheduled for the arena, but the couple said that they couldn't have confirmed it even if they'd wanted to. "We don't know," Claire said, while George added, "I actually asked Travis last night, and he laughed at me. I'm half expecting there just to be a jumbo jet on a runway, and they put us on a plane somewhere." Then there's the fan side of it, the people who'd followed this romance since 2023 and just wanted to see it through. 17-year-old Zara Benham told NPR she'd grown up on Swift's music. "I just remember always listening to her," said Zara Benham, age 17. Her mother, Lisa, who only got into Swift after being dragged to a concert by her daughter, said she was thrilled for the couple, gushing about how much she loved the whole story and repeating how pleased she was for them. "I'm thrilled for her. I love it. I love the whole story," gushed Lisa Benham, 47, who says she became a fan after her daughter dragged her to a Swift concert. "I'm pleased for them. Really pleased for them." So that's the version everyone watched. A rep confirmed the couple exchanged vows in a ceremony officiated by Adam Sandler, with no bridesmaids or groomsmen. Instead, Swift's brother Austin stood as her man of honor, and Kelce's brother Jason as best man. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were married as they celebrated their wedding with hundreds of guests Friday at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The couple had no bridesmaids or groomsmen. Swift's brother Austin Swift served as her man of honor. the representative said, while Kelce's brother, retired NFL offensive lineman Jason Kelce, served as Kelce's best man. According to Swift's representative, her wedding dress was created by Christian Dior Haute Couture. Guests said the ceremony itself hit differently than expected. Two attendees told NBC News that both Swift and Kelce wrote their own vows, and that Swift's included a bit of her actually singing during the exchange. Swift and Kelce wrote their own vows, the two guests said. Swift's vows featured a bit of her singing, and the exchange between the couple elicited tears from those in the crowd, the two attendees said, and it wasn't the bride who broke down first. One guest told NBC it was actually Travis who cried more. You would think the bride would be the one crying more, but it was actually Travis that was more emotional, one of the attendees said. By any measure, that's a complete story. A billionaire pop star and an NFL tight end, 1,000 guests, Adam Sandler behind the podium, tears, strings, a secret garden, case closed, right? Except weeks later, a completely different date started circulating, one that had nothing to do with New York City at all. Before we get to that other date, you need to understand just how big and how strange this guest list actually got, because some of what happened with the people in that room set up everything that came after. The names arriving Friday afternoon read like a greatest hits list pulled from 3 separate industries. Others seen in the city were Lena Dunham, Jack Antonoff and his sister Rachel, Gigi Hadid, Bradley Cooper, current and former NFL players George Kittle, Greg Olsen, Micah Parsons, Andrew Whitworth, and Matthew Stafford, Sabrina Carpenter, Ed Sheeran, Aaron Dessner, Suki Waterhouse, Graham Norton, Anya Taylor-Joy, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Dua Lipa, and Camila Cabello were also seen in the city. Add to that Hugh Grant, Ethan Hawke, Jason Sudeikis, Benson Boone, Steven Spielberg, Jessica Alba, Tom Brady, and Andy Reid. Kelce's own head coach, all photographed leaving the arena in the small hours. Earlier, director Steven Spielberg and actress Jessica Alba made their respective exits, while stars from the NFL world were also spotted leaving, including 7-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady and Andy Reid, Kelce as head coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. The celebrities were among a parade of stars seen arriving at MSG Friday, including Ethan Hawke, Gwen Stefani, Benson Boone, Jason Sudeikis, Jimmy Fallon, J-Lo, Ed Sheeran, Abby Wambach, Cooper Kupp, Roger Goodell, Joe Buck, and Jenny Han. Some names were even bigger surprises than others. Karlie Kloss, whose friendship with Swift had reportedly cooled off for years with no clear explanation, showed up looking every bit the part on her way into the arena, ending years of speculation about whether the two had drifted apart for good. Karlie Kloss and husband Joshua Kushner simply shined in Manhattan on the way to Taylor Swift's reported Madison Square Garden wedding. Rumors surrounding the invite for Kloss reached a fever pitch earlier this week, after years of speculation that the pair drifted apart with no official reason. But the biggest headline out of the guest list wasn't who showed up, it was who didn't. According to Stylecaster Blake Lively, despite reports the two had patched things up weeks earlier, was officially left off the list. Rude's speech at Taylor Swift wedding event reportedly drew gasps from guests. Here's how the bride responded, the real reason Blake Lively was officially snubbed from Taylor Swift's wedding after report they reconciled weeks before the ceremony. And speaking of gasps, one of the toasts at the wedding events apparently didn't land the way the speaker intended. Reports describe a speech that drew audible gasps from the room, with the bride having to respond in the moment. That detail alone tells you this wasn't some sanitized, scripted Hollywood affair. Even with 1,000 of the most famous people on the planet in one room, somebody still managed to say the wrong thing out loud. The entertainment, on the other hand, appears to have gone off without a hitch, and then some. TMZ reported that Adam Sandler didn't just officiate, he sang. Adam Sandler made Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding ceremony unforgettable, singing them an original song as he served as their officiant, TMZ has learned. Sources with direct knowledge tell us the song Adam wrote for the bride and groom was humorous yet touching and was all about their love. The reception, according to two guests who spoke separately to NBC News, brought out an entirely different tier of surprise performers. Two guests who spoke to NBC News said the night included performances by Paul McCartney and Stevie Nicks, in addition to a raffle that featured the same kind of car that Swift and Kelce took on their first date. TMZ's own sources heard the same names floated before their access ran out, adding Haim into the mix as a possibility. Our source left before any surprise artist took the stage, but they had a hunch Paul, Stevie, and Haim were getting ready to sing some songs for the Lovebirds. There was also a raffle, an actual raffle, at a wedding with 1,000 celebrities in the room, where the prize was a replica of the car Swift and Kelce took on their first date together. And there were games. One of the two NBC News sources called the interactive element one of the standout parts of the whole night. One standout aspect of the wedding was the games that attendees were invited to play. The two guests said, even the food got a personal touch. Rather than a generic catering menu, the couple reportedly pulled dishes straight from their own favorite restaurants around the city. The two guests also shared other details, raving about the food that was served that night, which was from the couple's favorite New York City restaurants. Then there's Donna Kelce, Travis's mother, someone reporters had been chasing for wedding details for the better part of a year. Every time she was approached, she gave the same answer. Caught by a photographer at LAX, she kept it simple. She said she was just happy, so happy for them. Kelce's mother, Donna Kelce, straight up refused to speak about her potential involvement with the wedding planning when approached by a photographer at LAX. I'm just happy. I'm so happy for them, Donna said at the time. Kylie Kelce, married to Travis's brother Jason, had the exact same experience from a different angle. On her own podcast, she had to publicly beg people to stop asking her for details. Swift's sister-in-law, Kylie Kelce, who's married to Trav's big brother Jason, even made a plea on her Not Gonna Lie podcast in April for people to stop asking her for wedding dirt. Even the family that was closest to the couple didn't seem to know what was actually coming. Or if they did, they weren't saying, and given what surfaced weeks later, that silence looks a lot more deliberate in hindsight. Because underneath the McCartney sets, the raffle cars, and the secret garden, something had already happened that none of these guests, none of these reporters, and maybe none of these family members had been told about. Here's the detail that turned this whole story upside down. According to a source who spoke to Page 6 on July 2, the day before the Madison Square Garden ceremony, Swift and Kelce had already gotten legally married. Not in New York, but in Nashville, Tennessee, the weekend before. A source claimed to Page 6 on July 2 that Taylor and Travis got legally married in Nashville, Tennessee, where Taylor has two homes, the weekend before their wedding. Though their wedding was in New York City, the source confirmed that Taylor and Travis didn't get married in New York State. Think about what that actually means. The entire spectacle, the street closures, the tunnel of childhood photos, the secret garden, Paul McCartney, the raffle car, 1,000 of the most photographed people on the planet flying in for the weekend. All of it happened after the two of them were already husband and wife on paper. The Madison Square Garden night wasn't the wedding in the legal sense. It was the party. And the location wasn't random. Nashville is where Swift's own story as an artist actually started. The Insider also claimed that the couple had a small ceremony in Tennessee where Taylor moved to when she was 14 years old to start her music career. It's also where she still keeps two homes, which made it about as private a location as she could pick for something this significant. There's flight data that appears to back the timeline up. According to a website tracking Swift's private jet, her plane made a string of stops right before the New York event, landing in cities where Kelce's own family lives. According to a website that tracks Taylor's private jet, her plane also made several stops on June 28 to cities where her and Travis's family members live. After leaving Nashville, the plane flew to Philadelphia, where Travis's dad, Ed, lives, as well as his brother, Jason, and his sister-in-law, Kylie. So Kylie Kelce's plea to stop asking her for wedding dirt reads a little differently now. She may well have already known the deal was done and simply wasn't allowed to say a word. Why would two people worth a combined couple $1 billion choose to handle the actual legal marriage somewhere this quiet? The most obvious answer sits right next to the timeline: paperwork. A prenuptial agreement doesn't attach itself to a party. It attaches itself to a marriage license. And multiple outlets reported that Swift's side had been building a legal shield around this marriage for over a year before anyone said "I do" in front of a camera. According to IB Times, the agreement was overseen by Swift's own father, Scott, who spent years working as a financial advisor before his daughter's career took off. Taylor Swift's ironclad prenup, driven by her father, Scott, protects her two-billionaire empire as Travis Kelce reportedly signs without objection ahead of their New York wedding. An insider who spoke to journalist Rob Shooter described Scott as the definition of a great father. Someone who'd spent his entire adult life protecting his daughter while letting her become the biggest star on the planet, always present but never in the spotlight. Scott is the definition of a great father, the insider said. He spent his entire adult life protecting Taylor while giving her the freedom to become the biggest star in the world. He's always there, but never in the spotlight. The same source went further, calling Scott a fist in a velvet glove, polite and warm on the surface, but sharper than anyone when it comes to protecting his daughter's business interests. He's a fist in a velvet glove, polite, charming, and incredibly warm, but when it comes to protecting his daughter and her business interests, nobody is sharper. The source continued. The math behind that protection is stark. Forbes puts Swift's net worth north of $2 billion, while Kelce sits closer to $90 million. While both parties are incredibly wealthy, Forbes has Taylor's estimated net worth north of $2.1 billion. Meanwhile, Travis's net worth sits at around $90 million. That gap is exactly why divorce attorneys, who spoke to Hello Magazine, expected the agreement to look nothing like a standard celebrity prenup. Manhattan attorney Jacqueline Newman said she'd expect something relatively straightforward, given how much wealth each side brought into it independently. Manhattan divorce attorney Jacqueline Newman believes any agreement would likely be relatively straightforward, given the enormous wealth each brought into the marriage. Florida-based prenup attorney Brian Karff agreed, telling Hello that with both parties bringing serious wealth into the marriage, splitting assets in a future divorce would likely stay simple, separate estates staying separate, and Swift's future earnings remaining entirely her own. Florida-based prenuptial attorney Brian Karff agreed that because both Taylor and Travis entered the marriage with significant independent wealth, dividing their assets would likely be relatively uncomplicated. This is pretty straightforward in light of their respective wealth. It makes things simpler, he said. Wait, perhaps they do some joint ventures, but I would suspect most of their estates would remain separate. I believe all her future earnings are going to remain her separate property. That is likely to be carved out at this point. But there's a clause in this that goes past money entirely, and it's the one that ties directly back to why Swift might have wanted the actual legal marriage handled somewhere small and controlled, away from cameras. Newman suggested the agreement could include language protecting Kelce, specifically from ever becoming a character in Swift's songwriting. While financial protections are common in celebrity prenuptial agreements, Newman suggested there could be another provision attracting even more attention. The attorney believes the document could potentially include confidentiality language relating to Taylor's songwriting. Potentially, there could be something in a prenup that would hamper her doing similar, because it's kind of her signature, she said, referring to the singer's long history of writing songs inspired by past relationships. Page 6 had floated a version of this back in May, suggesting the agreement would likely stop either of them from discussing the marriage publicly. In the event of a split, though possibly with a carve-out for Swift's music specifically, attorney Sarah Luetto told the outlet both parties would likely want confidentiality and non-disparagement terms tied to the relationship. Swift and Kelce may wish to include terms fostering confidentiality and privacy, Sarah Luetto, a partner at Blank Rome's matrimonial and family law group, told the site. But Luetto also pointed out Swift would likely resist any clause that limited her from writing about the relationship in song, given how central that's been to her entire career. The attorney noted that there are some exceptions to the law. In Taylor's case, she would likely not want to include provisions limiting her from singing about her relationship in songs, particularly since there is always so much speculation about the subjects of her songwriting, Luetto said. There's an even sharper version of this circulating. A report out of Sunday Guardian describes what's being called a bad boy clause, language that would trigger a significant financial penalty in the event of infidelity. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's reported prenuptial agreement has sparked widespread discussion over a reported bad boy clause that could impose a significant financial penalty in the event of infidelity. None of this has been confirmed by either side directly. Neither Taylor nor Travis has publicly confirmed the existence or details of a prenuptial agreement. But given the timeline, a private ceremony in Tennessee days before the public one, flight logs to family members' cities, and a legal team led by Swift's own father, it's hard to look at Madison Square Garden the same way now. That night wasn't when they got married, it was when they told everyone. Now the obvious question, how does a couple this famous, tracked by paparazzi and plane spotters and tabloid reporters for 3 straight years, pull off an actual legal wedding without a single photo leaking? Part of the answer is that everyone was looking in the wrong city. For months, The entire guessing game centered on Rhode Island, not Tennessee. Not long after Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's engagement, internet theories spread like wildfire around the where, when, and who of the nuptials. Some of the first speculations pointed to the wedding taking place on June 13, 2026 in Rhode Island, specifically at Ocean House, a luxury hotel in Watch Hill, RI, mere feet away from Swift's mansion. Local vendors even fed that theory. Florists Sarah and Hattie Young told reporters the local buzz strongly suggested a June wedding at that exact venue, citing its privacy, its oceanfront setting, and its proximity to Swift's home. Previously, Sarah and Hattie Young, co-owners of Young Designs Floral Studio, said, "From the buzz we've been hearing locally, we think Taylor and Travis might be getting married in Westerly, Rhode Island on June 13, 2026. While nothing is confirmed, the venue's privacy, oceanfront setting, luxury accommodations, and proximity to her Rhode Island home would make it a beautiful location for such a high-profile celebration." Swifties actually showed up there in force. Part of that was through the process of elimination. Swifties descended on Watch Hill, RI, where Swift owns a seaside estate, on June 13, but tabloid reports of a ceremony there proved unfounded. While every camera in the tri-state area pointed at a Rhode Island coastline, the actual legal ceremony was reportedly already happening 2 weeks earlier, quietly in a state nobody was watching. Then there's the sheer discipline of the operation once attention did shift to New York. Reports describe watermarked invitations, engineered so that if any single detail leaked to the press, the couple's team could trace it directly back to whichever guest talked. It also appears that guests received custom watermarked invitations that would allow the pop star and Kelce to trace each one back to its original recipient, so as to avoid leaked information. Even the venue choice worked as camouflage in plain sight. New York Times reporter Emma Fitzsimmons explained to NPR that despite holding nearly 20,000 people, Madison Square Garden functioned almost like a locked box. No paparazzi access, no helicopters overhead, total control over what images got released and when. Madison Square Garden, which can hold nearly 20,000 people, may seem like a surprising choice for a singer who prizes her privacy. But Emma Fitzsimmons, one of the New York Times reporters covering the wedding, told NPR last week that it makes sense for privacy and security reasons. "It's sort of this locked box where paparazzi can't get inside," she said. "There's not going to be helicopters overhead. She can release photos of the event and her dress, which we're all very curious to see, on her own terms." City officials played along without confirming a thing. Even New York's own mayor asked directly about the rumored wedding days before it happened, dodged the question entirely, and pivoted to talking about heatwave safety instead. Meanwhile, New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani on Wednesday sidestepped questions about a possible Swift-Kelce wedding. Instead, he stressed that the city was prepared for a busy holiday weekend and emphasized the importance of staying cool during the expected heat wave. Repeated requests from the Associated Press to Swift's own representative went unanswered right up until the event was already underway. Nothing has been confirmed by the couple, despite multiple requests, including one Wednesday from the Associated Press to Swift's representative for comment. Even the permits filed with the city were deliberately vague. Public records showed a permit for loading and unloading theatrical materials at the arena between June 29 and July 4, alongside a separate application from a production company that's handled red carpets for the Grammys and the Tonys, requesting a canopy set up outside for an event involving up to 999 people. Public records show that the city issued a permit for loading and unloading theatrical materials at MSG from June 29 to July 4. Winnick Productions, a company that has produced red carpet events for Grammy and Tony Awards shows and movie premieres, also applied for a permit to set up a canopy or tent outside the garden for an event involving up to 999 people. Nothing on those documents said wedding. Everything about how they were worded suggested the opposite: a corporate booking, a private function, anything but what it actually was. It's the same instinct that shaped the entire courtship in public since the two started dating in 2023. Swift's team had been extraordinarily good at controlling exactly what got seen and exactly when. Their relationship played out across football sidelines and stadium stages, but almost every major reveal, the relationship becoming public, the engagement announcement, the wedding date, arrived as a single, tightly controlled image or statement, rather than a story that leaked out piece by piece. They attended several other events together, including Kelce's surprise appearance during the Eras Tour and another AFC Championship, before the pair announced their engagement in August 2025. Even the engagement rollout followed the same playbook. Less than 2 weeks later, Swift announced their engagement on Instagram, with photos of a flower-filled backyard proposal and a massive diamond ring. When Graham Norton pressed her directly about wedding planning on his show, Swift deflected with humor instead of information, joking she'd be inviting anyone she'd ever spoken to in her life. In an episode of The Graham Norton Show, a few months later, Swift deflected questions about her wedding planning, but joked about inviting anyone I've ever talked to. That's the pattern that made the Tennessee twist possible in the first place. Every single previous reveal in this relationship had trained the public, the press, and even some of the couple's own extended family to wait for an announcement rather than go looking for the truth themselves. By the time reporters and fans were fully consumed with tracking flight paths and street permits around Madison Square Garden, the actual legal event had already happened somewhere nobody thought to look. Weeks earlier than anyone assumed, with a level of quiet that stood in total contrast to everything that came after it. So where does that leave the story now? Married on paper in Nashville, married in front of the world at Madison Square Garden. 2 ceremonies, 1 marriage, and a couple who somehow controlled both the secrecy and the spectacle at the exact same time. The public version wasn't cheap, either way you look at it. Forbes estimated the Madison Square Garden celebration cost the couple at least $20 million. At least $20 million. That is how much the wedding cost Swift and Kelce, Forbes estimates. On top of that, former New York City Traffic Commissioner Sam Schwartz told Forbes that policing and traffic enforcement tied to the event could run the city up to another $10 million, a bill that might land on taxpayers or might get picked up by the couple themselves. Meanwhile, police presence and traffic enforcement associated with the wedding may have cost up to $10 million. Former New York City Traffic Commissioner Sam Schwartz told Forbes, noting the bill might fall on New York City taxpayers, but could be picked up by Kelce and Swift. And just hours before that 100-person Thursday gathering, the couple's representative confirmed something that had nothing to do with the party at all. Just hours before their event Thursday, a representative for Swift confirmed to ABC News that she and Kelce had donated $26 million to charities, both in New York City and across the country. That's $26 million spread across 20 different organizations, including children's hospitals and food banks, announced right as the wedding weekend kicked off. July 2026, ahead of their rumored Madison Square Garden wedding in New York, the couple announced a joint $26 million donation to 20 charities across the U.S., including children's hospitals and food banks. As for what's next, even that remains deliberately vague. Neither side has confirmed a honeymoon destination, and reports on where they might be headed have directly contradicted each other. With the Taylor Swift wedding to Travis Kelce over, fans are turning to the next question. Where are Swift and Kelce going on their honeymoon? There are conflicting reports on that, but it appears what people do seem to agree on is what comes after the trip. Journalist and NYU professor Brittany Spanos, who's taught an entire course on Swift's career, told CBS News she expects new music out of all of this. Swift and Kelce haven't shared a honeymoon destination or other post-wedding plans, but Brittany Spanos, a journalist and professor at New York University who teaches a course about the pop star, said she thinks there's probably new music on the way. Given that the prenup conversation itself keeps circling back to whether Swift kept the right to write about this relationship, that prediction carries more weight than it might for any other artist. For now, the two of them are legally married, publicly married, financially protected by an agreement that both attorneys and insiders agree was built with real intention and quietly settling into a version of married life that started somewhere far away from Madison Square Garden's cameras. The wedding the world watched wasn't fake. It happened exactly the way guests described it, tears and all. It just wasn't the moment that actually made them husband and wife. That distinction is the twist nobody clocked while it was happening. Everyone was staring at a jumbotron in Manhattan, waiting for 2 words to light up in pink. By the time they did, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce had already